We're at Sally Kate Winters Family Services, West Point, Mississippi, rocking into hour 3 of the program today. Joining us now, Joe Max Higgins, CEO of Golden Triangle Development Link. Oh, who we got here? Hey, young man. What's that?
Here's
money.
The money for the kids.
Money for the kids. What's your name?
Bentley Scruggs.
Bentley Scruggs. This is $20 for the kids. That is fantastic. That is really cool. You're so sweet. You're so nice for doing that. And they are, look over here. They are so appreciative for your contribution. We're going to put this to good use. Really appreciate it. Good man. Take care, okay? That was awesome. Appreciate that, Bentley. All right, now we need other folks to join in and do what Bentley did. I'll give you the information here in a minute. It's SuperTalk 2241444. That's where you go to donate. This is a great organization. That's a great cause, and we sure do appreciate Bentley. That was awesome. Thank you, Bentley, for that. All right, Joe Max, so you and I were just talking offline a little bit. Lots of economic development projects that are in the hopper, in the opportunity queue. The question is, and the issue is always, how do we pull those things across the finish line? Back in my career running large sales group, we used to always refer to that as you don't want to be salesman of the month next month perpetually. You want to be salesman of the month eventually for real. But you gotta be in the deals to play. I mean, that's just how it works. And you play the numbers. You get enough of them in there, and you bring some in, and good things happen.
That's right. That's right.
So what you got going on that you could tell us about?
Well, I mean, I'm probably more open in projects they're working than anybody else in the state. I won't tell you who they are, but but we're seeing a tremendous amount of work in EV batteries. We're seeing, I think we got 4 of those looking at a site in the Golden Triangle. We're still seeing steel and metal related stuff because of Steel Dynamics, obviously. Yeah. They make a lot of steel, and people wanting to further process and use their steel. Solar is big here. We've announced 550 megawatts of solar that are in development. That's the size of a small nuclear power plant. And I think probably in the coming months we'll see another 200 added to that for about 750 megawatts. Now, put that in perspective, the steel mill is TVA's largest customer at 360 megawatts.
Wow.
So we'll be producing about twice what their consumption is here. Well, a project here in Clay County, 2 in Lowndes. I think Clay will have another one soon.
Yeah.
But we're seeing solar, we're seeing machinery and equipment, we're seeing automotive vehicles projects, and so it's kind of a across the board gamut. We've got one yesterday that is wood and wood products. So steel, wood, all we need is brick. We'll have the three little pigs covered, right?
I got you. So what's the workforce look like? I mean, that's the big question, is it not? It's a big issue, big question, top of mind for everyone that's thinking about doing something.
Yeah, and I think, I'll tell you, I think we figured it out before most folks did. Probably you got to go back 7-8 years. We were working with Dr. Mac Patera and Bill Fruth that does the polycoms, and we came to the conclusion that workforce was our Achilles heel, but it's everybody's Achilles heel.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's when we started the initiative and started working on the communiversity. That's a $44 million industrial training facility that we built with state, local, and federal funds. It's up, it's running. We had a prospect through it the other day, and they were in awe. The owner of the company and their facilities manager started looking at the equipment that was in there and the skills that could be trained, and they said, we've never seen anything like this ever.
That's awesome.
So yeah, but it's still a struggle to get people to come in, enroll, get educated, get trained to do that. But once they do, they'll get a job, and they'll get a real good job.
Yeah. So how are things looking now compared to a year ago with all the COVID disruption that we had and the government, I'd like to say, dropping helicopter money on everybody? That did affect the workforce in big time. And most of that's gone now. Does it look like people are trying to go back to work?
Yeah, I mean, we still got some of our major employers that are advertising. Some of them are offering bonuses.
Yeah.
A lot of them are growing bigger than they thought. Like Pico here in West Point, they came in and said, "Hey, we're going to create 300 jobs and do about $65 million of investment." Well, now they're at $175 million, and they're going to be close to 1,000 jobs when they get everything filled. They want to do 3 lines. Now they've done 8. The engine plant, originally came in and said 500 jobs. Well, they're bumping 800 now. The steel mill, same way. So we're seeing a lot of growth there. But it's tough to get people to apply. But last year, we've been averaging, on average, we average about $500 million investment a year,
okay,
and about 500 jobs. I've been here almost 20 years, almost 2 decades. Came in 2003, and that's been our average sans 4 years of Glenn McCullough.
Yeah.
And Phil Bryant, that last 4 years were not good. We were down about 40% a year. But last year we did $600 million and over 1,000 jobs. So, and we think this year's going to be stronger than that. So, all in all, we're getting there. We just need to keep the people. The good news is the jobs we're creating are very highly skilled and very highly paid. The steel mill pays an average of about $120,000 a year.
Wow. That moves the needle.
That moves the needle.
Yeah.
Other plants are $60,000, $65,000 a year. We're not talking about $15 an hour jobs.
Right.
We're talking better than that.
Yeah. I mean, of course, that's better than no job. But how we really make a mark on growing our economy, growing our tax base, and being able to just improve the overall quality of life is when we see these higher paid jobs in the area. I mean, that's what truly makes a difference. One
thing we've been preaching, and it's not getting on anybody, but it's kind of like how many jobs it's going to create.
Right.
That's what everybody wants to know, how many jobs.
The number of jobs.
Yeah,
right.
We do not care, period. We look at CapEx first, okay? Because if the capital investment is high enough, the jobs may be fewer, but they pay a lot. And, I've been here 20 years almost. About 30 years ago, I told the community that I was in that the industry of the future is going to be working fewer people, going to have higher CapEx. It's going to use a lot more water, sewer, and electricity. Going to use fewer people, but it's going to pay more.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing.
Yeah. Plus, the higher CapEx also that has a lot of economic output associated with it as well, because a lot of that investment is made in companies that are hiring a lot of people that are having to perform the services to deliver that CapEx. On the CapEx.
And the higher CapEx is going to translate to, even with exemptions, more money to your cities, your counties, and your schools.
That's right.
And Lowndes County is a perfect example of that. With all of our success that they had over there years ago, they built a brand new elementary school and paid cash for it.
Wow, that's amazing. So what about this sort of recent concept, Joe Max, in regionalizing economic development?
Yeah, so I've been doing this business getting close to 40 years. I never was a fan of it. My license plate on my truck says 2EQLEST, second equals last. Felt like the way you win is to tear everybody else's face off. And so that was kind of my approach for years.
Yeah.
And then when West Point actually approached my organization about joining and being 2 counties, and then obviously right after that October Hall for 3, it suddenly dawned on me that you got more to sell, okay? Because each community's got different pros, different cons, different things make different people tick.
Yeah.
And we weren't recruiting somebody and getting the management to come in here and then they lived at Old Waverly, for instance. Yeah. So now when we recruit somebody, we say, we got all these schools, we got all these 3 towns,
yeah.
We got the rural areas. You can live. It gives us more to sell.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, it can be done cheaper for the 3 counties than it could be if one was doing it by themselves. There's just some economies of scale of that.
No question about it. It just makes perfect sense in that regard. When you are competing for projects with other states and you lose, what's the objection you hear typically?
A lot of it really depends on the project.
Okay.
We've lost projects because of logistics costs. We've lost projects, a host of reasons, really.
Okay.
It can be utility cost. It could be logistics. It could be waterbound is easier on the Mississippi River upstream or downstream than it is on the 10 Tom. We do always try to figure out why we lost.
Sure.
Because you don't get better. And if you can fix something, you fix if you can't fix it, it's kind of like God grants you the serenity.
Yeah.
What kills you is when it's something you could have fixed, you didn't fix, or it's bitten you more than once.
Yeah.
That's not excusable.
Yeah. We got a break right here. You want to hang around?
Sure.
Got some more questions I
Sure.
want to talk to you about what we can do to even go to the next level and do better.
Okay.
I want to get your thoughts on that. We got Joe Max Higgins, CEO of Golden Triangle Development Link. We're on middays at Sally Kate Winters Family Services, West Point, Mississippi. Stay with us. It is Child Abuse Prevention Month. We are at Sally Kate Winters Family Services. They're an organization that helps children impacted by child abuse, neglect, family violence, and homelessness. To donate or for more information, text SuperTalk 22 to 41444. If you suspect child abuse or know a youth who is in crisis, call the Mississippi Child Abuse Hotline or contact Sally Kate Winters Services directly. Our guest is Joe Max Higgins, the CEO of Golden Triangle Development Link. So you've been doing this a long time. It's a game of ups and downs and euphoria and dejection. I mean, it's just a sales business. That's what we do it for. We're energized by that and invigorated by it. It takes people that thrive on that. And you got to learn to deal with the disappointment, not get too down when it doesn't go your way, and be looking for the next one after you win a big one, because it's time to go back to work. You've had a lot of success up here, though, Joe Max, in this area, in particular, Golden Triangle. I think, to your credit, to a great extent, has really blossomed economically. What do you think's made the difference?
You know, when I came down here, I came from Arkansas. Everything was here. You had the waterway, you had railroads, you had big land. TVA's the power company. They're the real deal. You had Mississippi State University. All the puzzle pieces that you typically need, and I couldn't figure out why the area wasn't winning, and it suddenly dawned on me that there was no expectation. A woman of our former elected officials said, "I know all that stuff's going to Mexico. Just act like you're trying." And I said, that's not a good answer. It's just not a good answer.
Golly.
And I said, we're working a project right now that makes railroad cars. And he said, what? And I brought him in my office and I showed him the RFP, and I think it was 1,200 jobs that would employ. He said, we can win something like that? And I said, yeah, I think we can. And all of a sudden, slowly but surely, people started buying in. But in the early days, when we did that first mega site, I'd go to Rotary, and the same 20% would be over there sleeping and drooling that always are, right? Yeah. They weren't engaged. They were just, the drill. And it could be Qantas. It could be Exchange. It's the same deal. They eat their lunch and they take their nap. And nobody was excited except just a very few. And it was kind of like we converted a couple, and then we got that mega site certification.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the job. That was just part of the job. And once we got the mega site certification, then everything changed. Then the deals started coming in, started looking, and we did one mega site, we did two mega sites, we did three. We've got our fourth one that we're marketing right now. And all of a sudden, the naysayers started believing. And I tell people we went from no expectation to a sense of entitlement. I mean, we just skipped everything in between. When's the next big deal coming? Well, there's no guarantee the next big deal comes. Sure. But we're trying, you know.
But, it's a great point. To succeed big, you got to believe big. You got to think big. And I think all too often, and I'm not being critical or condemning here, but I think sometimes in this state, we're at the bottom of the heap in so many categories economically. We just kind of think, well, that's just the way it is. We got to stay here. That's not the case.
No, Zig Ziglar said you had to see yourself there. You got to see yourself there. And unfortunately, I don't think they did. Now I think they do. And that's a good thing. Well,
that's the way it ought to be.
Yeah.
I mean, and the other thing is the prospects pick up on that as well. Do they not? When you're working with them, they see it. They pick up on it.
Yeah, we used to be dependent when I got here, and when Link first got born, and Allegra Brigham, and all the Bart Wise and David Sanders, and all of them that were involved in hiring me and working that. We used to depend on the state to bring us every single deal. Okay, right. Then it kind of evolved to the state was bringing us deals and TVA was bringing us deals, and then it kind of evolved to deals were just calling us directly. And you kind of know you've arrived when consultants, big-time consultants, start calling you directly for RFPs. And you're still working with MDA. You're still working with TVA, but they're contacting you.
That's good, yeah.
That tells you that you're kind of broken through.
Yeah, well, they see the quality. They obviously know the level of response and the commitment and the serious nature of it, and it's a comfort level. It's a level of confidence.
Yeah, and once you do one deal, Gerard, then people say, well, they can do a deal because they've done a deal. And then you do another deal and another deal and another deal. You know, I think I would like to hope that our team has gotten to the point where they're viewed as they can do a deal.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
We're not selling somebody that we might learn how to.
So let's talk about this concept of a mega site. Mm-hmm. Where did that come from? And obviously we got that here. We got it in Madison County. That's pretty critical, isn't it?
Yeah, and so that was coined by a guy named Bill Adams.
Okay.
He was at TVA, used to be with MDA. He went to John Bradley, who's the head economic developer, and Heidi Smith, who's the number 2, and he said, everybody's got a bean field on the edge of town. Everybody's got a cornfield. Everybody's got, and that's not where the next Nissan, Toyota, or Mercedes-Benz goes.
Yeah.
He said that's an unreal expectation. What we should do is we should have a competition. Now, that mega site was different than what Madison County did. We should have a competition in the valley,
okay, and
we should let our communities compete for, in a real-world situation, what a deal looks like. So we went to Nashville. There were 500 or 600 people there. There were mayors, state senators, economic developers, utility people, and they hired McCallum Sweeney to write the specs.
Okay.
And it had to be 1,500 acres. Over 1,000 had to be developable, had to have railroad, prefer for you to have 2, prefer both of them to be class 1, had to be an entertainment area, had to be bump, all these things. And at the end of the day, people were just throwing their hands up. At the end of the day, at the end of that competition, there were 2 sites certified in 80,000 square miles, one in Lowndes County, and one in Kentucky. Within months of ours getting certified, the steel mill came. As soon as we broke ground on the steel mill, we entered another site, and it was certified, and PACCAR went there. About that, Toyota went on a mega site, okay. Google went on a mega site, a bunch of Toyota went on a mega site, Polaris, Mazda went on a mega site. You get the picture.
Yeah.
So those guys were winning. TVA kind of shut it down. And when we started working in West Point, we said, we want to do another mega site. And they said, we don't have the program anymore. We found them all. And we said, bull. So we went ahead and put this one together and followed all the rules. And within months after we put it together and did everything, Yokohama picked it. Then TVA came back to us and said, well, maybe we didn't. Maybe we didn't identify them all. And they asked us in Huntsville, Alabama, to submit this property and this property.
Okay.
That's where Toyota Mazda is in Huntsville right now. And this is the last mega site remaining, but it's the newest mega site, the one we're working on now.
Yeah.
And they've been game changers for us. And, you know, you've heard your whole life, well, I don't really want somebody, I don't want a company that employs 500 people. I'd rather have 10 that employed 50 apiece.
Okay.
Well, that's what people that can't get 500 job industry say. Because if you'll go get a 500 job industry, you'll get 10 more that employ
exactly
500
right.
or 50 apiece.
Yeah.
So it's been a game changer for our region. And I suspect it won't be long before this one's developed. And like Entergy's doing at your Madison site, TVA's doing here, they're putting tremendous amount of resources in there as far as capacity. It's not I mean, we had a company come in the other day, a hyper data center, that said, how much power can you sell before you break? That was the question. And we're used to megawatts. This is a 10-megawatt plant. The steel mills are 360 megawatt. They said, we're looking at using a gig.
Gigawatts.
A gig.
Absolutely. So, and you're right. That is so critical. And I think with respect to TVA and Entergy coming on board, I mean, those are major investments that they make. And they're relying on somebody consuming that power and paying them back for that investment. I mean, it's just standard business planning at the end of the day. But
those power companies that are making that kind of investment are flying with us in the faith column real hard.
Oh, that's exactly right. Exactly. And you want them to do that. You want them to be side by side as your partner. I mean, that's just pretty critical to make these kinds of deals happen. What about other areas, regions of the state that don't have mega sites, if you will? is there a way for them to get that done? What's kind of the route to that? Don't want to necessarily help your competitors, but I know you understand that it's good for you when the whole state's succeeding.
Greatest form of flattery in our business is somebody take your idea and steal it.
Sure.
Okay, I mean, it just is. Bart Wise was my chairman, third or fourth time year I was here, third or fourth chairman. He said, "Don't tell people what we're doing." I said, "Bart, if you think you're going to have one idea, hold it close." Okay, I'd rather do the. You remember the Washington Redskins?
Yeah.
The Hogs.
Yeah.
And Rigo and Theismann. Yeah.
With the noses.
Yeah. Well, their signature play was a counter tray.
Yeah.
And they would run the counter tray, and they would go up to their opponents and say, "It was 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. They would tell them what play they're going to run, and then cram it down their face." So I said, I'd rather tell everybody what we're doing and then come up with a new idea. Mega sites are not for everybody. They're expensive to develop. Our last one cost $250,000 just in upfront cost.
Wow.
So they're expensive. But regionalism around the state should be something that needs to be talked about.
Yeah, we got to keep talking about that. This to me is our future. And Joe Max, congratulations on all your success. Appreciate what you've done, sir. You got a lot to be proud of here, and I know you got a lot on the boards. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Joe Max Higgins, CEO Golden Triangle Development Link, has been our guest. We'll take a break right here on Mid.